Hello, welcome back to the channel. I know enough to be dangerous farm. My name's Rob. Today's video we're going to be doing a walk around the TC35A a little bit more. I did a smaller run through the other day, but let's do a little bit more in depth. Let's get to it. Welcome back. So we'll start at the back of the tractor like I always do. So the tires are pretty good size. One of the reasons I bought this secondhand, I don't know, this is a 2008. I bought it probably 4 years old. It had 600 hours on it. And one of the reasons I bought it is the tire size, again for compaction, but it's on a larger tractor frame. It's only 35 horse, but it's all gear, so most of that's going to the PTO. The one thing I wish this was a hydrostatic, but it probably wouldn't have lasted me this long, because I've had this since I don't know, 2012 or something like that. So I've had this almost 15 years, and it doesn't owe me a thing. The only thing cosmetically I did was I painted the rims. It did not have ballast in there, thank goodness. I did put some new tires, new front tires on. Good thing they weren't the back tires, but the new front tires on this year. It's got 1,600 hours on it. It had the Titans, you know, the back ones are still Titans, but these used to come with the Titan tires, which were just made for being a forever tire. But I got a decent deal on the front tires. Shout out to Briggs up here in town. They hook me up when I need to get hooked up. It's got the folding down ROPS. The lights work. I had some, cheap backlights for, I used to have the sickle bar mower on this, so we used to do hay. So here's the 3-point hitch. Yeah, I know this one's bent, as you can see, but it's when it had the backhoe on it, and it's a 3-point hitch backhoe, I know, but this thing has a frame all the way already built in. Yeah, that big piece right there, that has a frame that goes all the way to the back, so it helps with the 3-point hitch, which is not on that much. But anywho, I like where the fill port is. It's nice and large. It's back here. It's not too high. One defect that was like when I got it is very brittle, so I think the guy leaned on this or something, but this plastic fades and gets real brittle, so I kind of fixed that as best I could. But it's got the telescopic, like these come out, you know how that works. Normal stuff. Here's the holder that falls down every once in a while for no reason. It scares the heck out of you. Here's, it does have a dipstick for the hydraulic oil. There's the fill, which is kind of useful. These are just stickers. You don't need knights, but it is the Boomer series. This is not the Workmaster. This is the Boomer series, so it steers a little bit sharper. We'll go over here again. The back tires still have a lot of life on them. I had some mice damage into these lights, so they don't work anymore. But anywho, there's the other new tire on this size. This is I've only had this loader off once, but it's pretty easy. Just normally you take the weight off the loader, you pull this out, lift it out of the pocket here, and then you can disconnect it. One thing that I had a problem with this thing is it used to airlock, so I put this bleed in there in this fuel line. I don't know if there's any other way to do that, but it would airlock on a hot day and just shut the tractor down. I thought it was the fuel pump, so you know me, I just changed the fuel pump because it was easy, but it didn't fix the problem. I don't like where that fuel filter is. That is not easy to get to. Oil filter's not too bad. Yep, I'm going to service it this spring, and I do have a leak, but that's just because of my redneck diverter valve, which is not even a diverter valve. For me to use the front hydraulics up here, these here, I put this on, I have to disconnect the tilt on the bucket, but it works, but the bucket will slowly tilt up. So I bought the valve, the mechanical diverter valve, and I'm gonna mount it right here. It's just a little lever, but typical me fashion, I used it to fix the tree tire. So I'll buy another one of those kits. They really weren't that much money at the time. So I'll get another one of those kits and then we'll fix that. We don't use it a lot with that front hydraulics, but you know, when you need it is when you need it, you know. But here's the joystick control. I'll show the placement of this while you're up. This is a great place for this joystick. Just awesome. It's right where it should be. Some are, you know, the Workmaster series of this year, that joystick controls here and your arms always out front all day long. You know how that, you know, imagine what that feels like. We'll get into the cockpit controls when we get up there. But you know, the loader is nice, ergonomically correct, I guess they say. It you know, it won't lift a ton, even with ballast, but it'll lift probably 1,100 pounds, which is probably all you want to put on this smaller frame tractor. But it is a nice tractor, because one of the it's a little bit lower lift is this loader. You know, if you have a bucket or forks, your stuff is way out in front. I don't know if that you can tell, but that's almost 4 feet from here to here. So you guys know, do the math, that kind of reduces your lift capacity, but you can see the stuff better. Like this machine is a heck of a lot easier to hook up, you know, the bucket or the forks than the TYM. And here I painted, this is what I paint for the TYM, so I can hook the stuff up. And this doesn't have the tube, but it does have, well, that's probably why it's this little indicator, and you can adjust this up and down, because this is level when this thing is in this little notch. So that's that. It's got the forks on it right now. One thing I do, well, I haven't done it in a while because I don't get forks all the time, is I put a hole. I torch a hole in the front. That's for moving stuff around. That's easy. You can put a ball in there. Like I said, I've had this thing a long time and only took the loader off once, and that's just because I wanted to see the tractor without the loader. And let's see. This is the same as the other side. Not crazy about the exhaust, where that goes. It'd almost be better if it was like the old tractors where it was piped out the back. But anywho, we have a seedling plow, so you wouldn't want the exhaust piped out the back if you're sitting on that seedling plow. Here we go up to the cockpit. This toolbox, there's nothing in it and it still won't close. I think, a bigger toolbox behind you would be a little bit better, which you could do yourself. And the seat is, obviously a replacement. They had some stupid seat without any suspension. This is just a Tractor Supply or Runnings. It's, you see these all over the place. It's got a nice suspension to it. You feel it if you're in it all day, but it's a tractor, not a luxury vehicle. It's got a little weather to it, even though this thing's never sitting outside. It's just the cold, I guess. So this side, yeah, somebody's living in here. We gotta get rid of this. But anywho, I don't know if it's a different model, but similar years. The controls, like 3-point hitch, the PTO, and your range are all over here, which would be really nice. This isn't too bad here, but if you come with me to the other side of the tractor, you have your range, which isn't too bad, but this PTO, man, whoever put it down here, should be slapped, I guess. And then the 4-wheel drive, which you're not doing all the time, is way back here. I don't know. All these controls on different models are over on the fender, so maybe they only made this for 1 year. Not much going on up here. So this is a mechanical shuttle, I guess you would call it. So this is forward, reverse, but you do have to put the clutch down. Clutch is on the left, and then you have your gear selection here, which is not bad. I do have to lube that up down in the steering column, follow that down, that linkage. This is the gas, and it does have the nice little foot pedal. No cruise control on this, fellers. It's got some lights on it, not very good, because another thing, whoever designed a tractor with lights, whoever designed a tractor with lights right there, and you have a loader, man, another slapping should be, should be happening right there. You cannot see the lights. That's why I put these stupid things on here, so you can have some lights when you have a loader, especially when you have a forks of a pallet of anything, and so you can't see nothing. Not that I do a ton at night, but it would be nice. It's got the split brakes right here, left and right, has gotten me out, and you can separate them. This little deal down here is another slapping, but I've kind of figured that out. I used to reach down here, way down here, pull this, do this, pull that, and cross my fingers that it sets, but I hurt my back once, and I figured out if you do this, you can set your parking brake. I don't know, kind of wanted to slap myself after it took me 10 years to figure that out. But that's the release, that. Very good visibility. It's not a tech cab, but everything slopes down kind of nice. Everything slopes down nice. That's about it. The ROPS are down most of the time. There is a side hill here, but if we get in hairy situations, I'll put the ROPS up. It just folds right up. But there's the oil check there, which is kind of handy. Even from the seat, if you forget to check it, you're on the seat, you can still check the oil. So yeah, that's the seat squeaks a little bit, but you'll have that. So that's, I wanted to show you, like the loader control. It's hard to tell, but it is like right here in the spot. Even if I'm not doing anything, I'm just resting my hand here, and you can do loader work all day long, where some of the other ones and some of the other cheaper tractors, the stick is up here, and it just, your arm falls asleep. It's just at a natural position, where it is right here. It is good, but it's an open station tractor, so there's nothing in here. There's no big hump to, work around or get on and off. There is no tilt on this, but the tractor is in a position where I don't think you need it unless you're a really big fella, and that's about it. So it's got the little step. I don't yank on this too much because it is attached to the plastic fender. Man, maybe if they could have stepped up, but I don't know. This is actually made by New Holland. I know some years the LS, or might even be back in bed together. LS used to make these tractors, but this one is a New Holland made in USA tractor. So I think the Workmasters were LS tractors. I'm not sure about that, but this is a Boomer series. This particular tractor doesn't owe me a thing. I bought it right back in the day. It came with a brush hog that I still use. It's not the prettiest thing, but it had some crazy sprayer set up here and expanded metal welded on. I took that all off, and it came with that nasty snowplow I'll show you in a second. But this thing does not owe me a dime. The only thing I've ever put on it was those front tires and a fuel pump, but that, it wasn't the fuel pump's fault. I don't know. It's New Holland doesn't make. I don't know. New Holland doesn't make the engine. I think it's a Japanese engine, but no, it's a nice machine. It's on the larger frame. It's a TC35, so if you go to a TC33, which is only 2 more horsepower less, but it's on a lot smaller frame. And at the time, I was doing a lot of landscaping, York raking and stuff. This still isn't going to pick up a pallet of pavers, even on the 3-point hitch. It won't do it. But it's a nice size for landscaping. It's not too big, not too small, and that's why I bought this. Doesn't owe me a thing. And this is the snowplow thingamajigger that came with the New Holland TC35. This is the bucket that came with it. I bought a different bucket, but he had some redneck engineering. He must have ripped the first one out. I don't know what he was doing. Holy smokes! But this kind of slides up into there is how this thing works. I don't use this anymore since I got that one. I don't use it. Last year I used it to scrape down the driveway because it is metal, but it doesn't angle, so you're just pushing a lot of stuff. I think I don't know, maybe I'll keep the snowplow and make it angle, put some cylinders on it and make it angle again. That would be useful. One last thing about the TC35, what I do like is there's no sensors, there's no emission. It's 35 horse, there's no emission stuff on this thing. It is gear. I wish it was hydrostatic, but there's no sense. The only safety control on it, or safety switch on it, is the neutral switch, which is good to have. Even my 8N, my 60-year-old tractors had that. But other than that, this is a great tractor. We use this more of our utility tractor, a little bit of everything. If we had to spray between the trees, we could. If we had to plow snow with it, we could. If we had to brush hog with it, we could. So that's what we use this one for around the farm. Just about anything in the woods. I don't like taking my cab tractor in the woods, loading logs on the sawmill. It can do all that stuff. So that's it for today. The TC35 walk around. Hope you enjoyed it. Push the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.